Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Sorry, I'm just beavering away in the background here trying to upload a thing. I do apologise. Yeah, good morning. Good morning. I'm going to say good morning. Going upwards, I'm going to say good morning to Ken Hatchery reckons I had man flu. I don't know what I had. It was like a 24-hour bug. I won't bore you with the details, but it affected my stomach and it was not pleasant. Nobody wanted to be around that. I'm not sure if it was my wife's cooking or just a bug. Jim Turner is here as well. Good morning, Jim. Who else do we have here? I'll come back to that one in just a moment. Facebook does seem to be working again, which is good news. Don't know what was going on with it earlier in the week, but it seems to be working now. Chris Ford is here. Good to see you. Yeah, good to be here. Be honest with you, Chris. But yes, everybody, stand by your beds. Gary Muirhead has returned. Good morning, Gary. How the devil are you doing? Good to have you back on the show. And in answer to your question, I hope you're feeling better today. Yeah, I feel absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. I don't know what it was. I can only apologise. Just struck down with a bug, but I feel as right as rain now. However, on that subject, I do need to apologise in advance. Ken Hatcher says, you changed the banner. I did change the banner because, while I was beavering away in the background, I thought it would be a good idea. But it also gives me an opportunity to do things like this. So there you are. If anybody's ever wondered what Chris Ford actually looks like, you can see him now. That doesn't really help with Gary Muirhead, who is disguised as a Steel Wrist logo, but yeah, it does allow us to do things. Mark Whiting is here as well. Does Mark have a picture? He has a picture, but it's not of him. And I'm going to press his button now as well. Let's make sure we do that in the right order. Good morning to you, Mark Whiting. Good morning to everybody over on Instagram. Yeah, I need to apologise in advance. There is no show on Friday this week because I'm off to Birmingham to see the new IDE president being crowned. That means an early start for me, so no show on Friday. And there's no show on Monday. No show on Monday. I'm actually taking a day off, a proper day off, basically to spend a bit of time with a good friend of mine who I haven't seen in quite a long while. I'm looking forward to it, and I have to say I'm looking forward to the venue even more, but I'll tell you more about that when I've actually been there and done it. Let's have a look over here. What do we got? Jim Turner says, good morning, Gary. Glad we have you back. Yes, it's not been quite the same without Gary, is it? And Dan Cullen is here as well. Dan Cullen, just in time for the Mystery Machine, which will be coming along in just a moment. As you can see, I have changed the banners, and now, if you're using your photograph on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, you will appear on the show. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it is possible. We have that technology now. So without further ado, let me do what I do around about this time. I'm going to roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. In answer to Ken's question here, he says, looks slightly bigger, the banner, and I can see it now. Yeah, that was the idea. I know a lot of you guys are actually watching this on your mobile phones, which is not really ideal, not in terms of actually seeing what's going on. So I've basically changed things up so that you can actually see what's going on, so you can see who's speaking and what have you. It was a deliberate ploy, and it seems to be working. Gary Muirhead says, thanks, Jim. The site times have changed because of the dark night, so the tea break now begins at 10 a.m. again. Hurrah, hurrah for all things weather-wise. Jim Turner is answering our question today. I'll come back to that in just a moment. What do we got? Yes, I've done our question of the day. We've already had a guess on our Mystery Machine. I can tell you it's not that. Before I actually show you the Mystery Machine, which I'll get to in just a moment, I want to give you a quick heads up on this. Yes. You remember a couple of days ago, I said that I was going to come up with this notion of creating what I can only describe as a Frankenstein machine. So I'm putting together basically a Google form to allow us all to pitch in and design our ultimate machine. So you will be able to choose the undercarriage, the upper structure, the cab, the hydraulic pump, the transmission, the engine, the seating, the controls, the attachments, and everything else. And basically the idea, let me take that away. The idea is we will take the very best of the very best. So if you think that the undercarriage on, for example, a Caterpillar excavator is the best, we'll take that. But we'll also take, maybe you think the Hydrema Opera cab is the best, so we can put that onto the Caterpillar machine. We're not going to be able to do it visually. We're not that clever, but I'd like to come up with this ultimate Frankenstein machine that takes the very best of what you believe to be the very best on the market and puts it all together. We'll be doing that very, very soon. Dan Cullen is saying it looks a lot better. Thank you very much indeed, Dan. So it is, having been wildly distracted for the first 7.5 minutes, it is Wednesday, the 13th of November. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition. In today's show, we're up close with the latest Hydrema haulers. We're getting smart with Komatsu. We're going back to backhoes with JCB, and we're looking at how Caterpillar is collaborating to bring autonomy to quarry sites around the world. Plus, in my morning monologue today, we're going to be looking at the wider impact of demolition and construction company collapses and how the fallout is often much worse than the initial blast. But before we get to all of that, there is, and I know that's exactly why Dan Cullen is here, we do have the small matter of today's mystery machine, which I will show to you just as soon as I can get away from this thing here. There we are. It will be back in just a second. Yeah, straight into the action. That is our mystery machine today. I say that, it's a part of the mystery machine for today. We're looking for, as ever, a make and a model, if you would be so kind. We've just been joined by somebody who goes by the name of Dirty Little Dumplings over on Instagram. If you're a lady going by the name Dirty Little Dumplings, welcome. Good morning. If you're a man, less so, maybe. I don't know. But that is our mystery machine. Let's have a look what we've got here. Peter McKenna is here as well. Morning, Mark, and everyone else. Hope you're all having a good week. I'm having a better week now. I am having a better week now. So, yes, we'll keep the guesses coming in on that. I'm going to remind you very quickly of our question of the day, which looks like this, because we've already had a few answers on it. So here's the reminder. Yeah, that's our question of the day today. What is your favourite board game? Christmas will soon be upon us. I don't know what that means for the rest of you, but at Chateau Anthony, that usually means the board games come out. So the family actually has something to argue about. Lots of board games in the house, but we always end up playing Monopoly. And I'll show you this just to prove that I'm not making that up. My other half. That's what she looks like, by the way. Question of the day, we always play Monopoly at Christmas, family affair. Fred, you know Fred, collects Monopoly boards, even has a German one. He does. Yes, he does. Don't know quite how we ended up with him collecting them, but that's where we are. Now, Jim Turner, in answer to that question, reckons Monopoly or chess. I have to stick with Monopoly because I don't actually know how to play chess. I'm just saying. Gary Muirhead is going for Snakes and Ladders. Haven't played Snakes and Ladders in years. It's kind of my intelligence level, that is. I can figure that out. Going back to the mystery machine, let me take that away. We've had a guess there from Gary. He reckons it could be a JCB 802.5 ZTS. It is not. Dan Cullen reckons it could be a Kubota Mini Digger. It is not. Peter McKenna is going for a Merlot telehandler. Jim Turner is going for a Kubota 8.5 tonner. There's my other half saying good morning to Gary. Peter McKenna says, don't play board games, we're all poker players. Right, okay, well, I will make a point of looking closely for your tell in the future. Ryan Lee, good morning, Ryan Lee, my mate from the Demolition World. Good morning. First time I've had a bit of time to tune in live. Ryan, good of you to join us. Always welcome, as you well know. I don't know how the job hunt is going, but I hope it's going very well. If anybody in the Demolition World is out there looking for somebody who really knows their hang on a minute. Let me think about this. Knows their shit in demolition. Ryan Lee's your man. Give the man a call. Give the man a job. and you can thank me later. Chris Wall, question of the day, frustration with the pop of magic, followed by Yinga. Is that Jenga, possibly? Possibly, I don't know. Mick says, morning all, more good morning as well. Morning and Diamond. My wife will be delighted with that. Dan Cullen's going Snakes and Ladders and Drafts. I haven't played that for a while either. And there's Riley basking in my reflected glory. So there's the mystery machine. There's a little bit more of it. I don't know if that helps at all. If you keep the guesses coming in, we'll be back to that in just a moment. But we do need to crack on because, well, we have a show to do. Yeah, I'm going to start today with something new from Hydrema. Big fan of Hydrema. I realise that their dump trucks are a little small, a little specialised, but they're really quite smart. I'm going to prove it. There you are, Hydrema. I'm just going to go back to this from Peter McKenna, who says, Hydrema look the part and a well-built machine. Don't see many about, though, in the UK. Very true. That is very true. I've seen them on the site a couple of times. I remember many, many moons ago, and I think it was one of the first machines actually here in the UK. And it was actually working in a city, but it wasn't quite a river. It wasn't quite a stream. It was kind of an offshoot of a river that was not quite big enough to be a river itself, actually running in the water. You couldn't have got another machine in there. It was absolutely perfect. It really was. As I say, huge fan of the Hydrema brand. Now, speaking of brands, we've had plenty of guesses on the mystery machine, none of which are right. And I tell you now, none of them has even got the right brand yet. So there is Gary Muirhead, reckons it could be a Volvo L25 electric. Dan Cullen is going for the Wacker-Neuson WL28. It is not one of those. It's not a Wacker-Neuson WL34. It's not a Wacker-Neuson WL750. In fact, I'll tell you now, it's not a Wacker-Neuson at all. Gary is going for the Komatsu W100M-7. It's not one of those. As I said, it's definitely not a Wacker-Neuson. Definitely not Wacker-Neuson. And Gary Muirhead says, great wee trucks, especially with flotation tyres. Yeah, absolutely. And now, I will show you more of the mystery machine in just a moment. But first of all, let me have a look at this. Our friend Mick. And, you know, Mick talks about the dog and the hound, the one that regularly needs to be taken for a quick leak up the lamppost nearby. That's what it looks like. That's not Mick. That is the hound. He says, heard rumblings. One of the big five is in a lot of trouble. Will keep my ears open when I meet up with the fellas later. I'm fairly sure he's talking one of the big five demolition contractors. Be interesting to be a fly on the wall when you meet up with the lads later on. Keep us posted, would you? Let's have a look. Now, Russell Miszczewski, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, has just joined us. I actually saw his name go through the chat earlier over on Instagram, but he has now popped over to Facebook. Morning, Russell. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Don't remember seeing you here before. So on that basis, bear with me 1 second. I need to do this. This is what you get when you join the club. There you are. Welcome. I can tell you, you're very welcome, but I can also tell you that's not the right answer. It is not a Kubota. Dan Cullen reckons it could be a Wolf loading shovel. It's not one of those either. Let me take that away. And Dan Cullen is also going for a New Holland SO35. It is not. And Russell says, shout out to my brother, Wayne Kerr. Really? Really? Yeah. Okay. If you think I'm falling for that, you've got another thing coming. Gary Muhay says, Wiedemann T4512 Premium. Oh, somebody's in the right ballpark. Somebody's in the right ballpark. Dan Cullen's going for the Chroma. 5065, it is not. Let me show you. Oh, no, wrong button. That one. There you are. I'll tell you what, I'll go even further than that. That's what it... Now, you've got a bit of colour. There you are. It's nighttime over here, says Russell. Whereabouts are you, Russell? Whereabouts are you? Are you stateside, possibly? I'm taking a wild guess at that. I don't actually know. Let us know. But that is the mystery machine as it stands at the moment. Nobody's got the right answer. I can tell you that Gary Muirhead has actually got the right brand, but that's as far as we've got. So keep the guesses coming in, and I'll be right back in just a moment.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
I just had a comment. What do we got here? Dan Cullen is going for the Wiedemann T4512E. It is not one of those. That is what he's working with, but it is not one of those. You're close-ish, but you're not quite there. Smart construction. That's where we're all headed, I think. And Komatsu is leading the way.
My name is Mike Nixon. I'm a product marketing manager for the Smart Construction and IMC group. My main focus being on sales and sales support for our distributors. When Komatsu released the IMC machine in 2013, it was groundbreaking for a couple of different reasons. And since then, we've added a whole fleet of dozers and excavators. Smart Construction Remote, while it's a very simple tool, it's an extremely powerful tool for our customers. It allows our customers to remotely access all of their IMC machines, their 3DMG machines, and most importantly, they can send files back and forth to the field. And so now a customer can update all his machines and all his systems sitting at his office chair at the touch of a button. With Smart Construction Dashboard, you could be getting daily production information from your IMC machines, which will allow the office to look at and compare volumes moved on a day-to-day basis. Smart Construction Design is a service that we offer at Komatsu where we can actually do the design models for our customers so that they don't have to have a dedicated expert in-house. By allowing Komatsu to do your models, you can be assured that the model will be optimized for use in all of your machines and even your other competitive machine control situations. The great thing about 3DMG is it's an indicate system that provides instant feedback to the operator. They can see exactly what they're doing, what needs to be done. So now our customers can not only have machines within their fleet with technology, but now we have a system that's affordable enough to where they could put that similar technology throughout their entire fleet of excavators.
Mixed fleets are a reality of the industry today. Most customers do run a variety of equipment from various manufacturers, and that's because they run a lot of equipment that not every manufacturer makes. So that's a reality we see on the job sites, and Komatsu recognizes that and gives solutions that work well not only for the Komatsu machines, but for any other make or model machine that that customer may have.
We also have Smart Construction Drone, which will allow you to look at progress in the field and to get your cut feel and your volume calculations on daily, monthly, weekly basis. When we start to talk to a customer about smart construction, the first thing that we like to do is just talk to them about their existing operation and especially what pain points they have. And then we can start to tailor the conversation to just include the solutions that we feel like will have the most impact on their needs.
We find a lot of people that made investment in GPS and they've made success with that, and they're asking us, what's next? What more can I do to bring up not just my individual asset production, but my overall job site production?
If you're looking to get production on a daily basis, two of our products are Smart Construction Field and Smart Construction Office.
The goal of Smart Construction Field is to consolidate all those disparate solutions. So maybe your employees are juggling 5, 10, 15 apps just to try to do one thing within each of them. Smart Construction Field does a host of those and brings those all into this one-stop shop.
Basically, all the operator does is goes in there, selects piece of equipment he's operating, and it's going to pop up that inspection.
The number one thing that we're trying to do with Field and Office is to provide our customers with as much information as possible that's as accurate as possible and as timely as possible to allow them to make the best decisions during their day-to-day operations. One of the great things about Smart Construction is that when you purchase the solutions, you not only get some of the onboarding, but we have experts that will be providing training and ongoing support.
And that's really where IMC Smart Construction all starts helping us out and bridging that gap of inexperience.
And you'll notice also that cut depth value changes on the fly. So whenever you get a good blade load and it has to start slackening up on the system a little bit, it will actually change that cut depth value to closer to 0.
Partnership between the contractor, the local distributor, and Komatsu, and deploying the latest on-machine and off-machine technologies to raise the level of productivity on the job site. That is the job site of the future.
And that, I believe, is what the future of construction looks like. Speaking of Komatsu, Garvin at Mostly Diggers has just joined us over on Instagram. Good morning, Garvin. He says he's waiting for his new Komatsu, new Komatsu Duck, which is arriving either today or tomorrow. Look, if you're not already following Mostly Diggers over on Instagram, please do so, because there's going to be lots of coverage, I would imagine, of his new Komatsu Duck in the very near future. Go and have a look. Now, I'll come back to the mystery machine in just a moment. Let's have a look. I'm just trying to find the right reference. Here we are. Russell Mischewski said, it's nighttime over here. I asked where he was. I can tell you he is watching from New Zealand. And Jim Turner says, I wish I was in New Zealand too. Now, Mystery Machine. Mystery Machine looks like this. Now, we already have an indication. There was the first one. Gary Muirhead reckoned it was a Wiedemann T4512 Premium. It is not, but he's got at least the right brand. And then, well, basically, I think people have hit the post, hit the other post, hit the crossbar, had it saved on the line. We're all very close, but nobody's got the right answer. So there's Dan Cullen going for the T4512E. He's also going for the 2080. Gary Muirhead went for the 4080. It is not one of those. Peter McKennan's gone for the 4070 CX100. Dan Cullen's gone for the 4080T. It's not. Wiedemann 2080 LP. No, it's not one of those. It's not one of those either. Not the 3070. It's not the 4080. It's not the 1390. It's not the 2070. If you imagine the Mystery Machine competition, let me put me on screen so you can see what I'm doing. If you imagine it as a goal, you've hit the post that side, you've hit the post that side, you've hit the crossbar, just need the one in the middle, the one straight down the middle. And just going back to Dan Cullen, who says, great video, well done, Komatsu. Yeah, well done indeed. I have to say, I've now sat through the Smart Construction presentation, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 times. Obviously, it changes from exhibition to exhibition, but it is genuinely one of the highlights. You know, I saw it on Mine Expo, I saw it at Con Expo, I saw it at the Con Expo before I saw it at Intermat, and it really is, you know, if you'd like to know what's going to happen in the future, well, here's an indication. Yeah. Garvin has said it's a Wiedemann something. Yes, you're right. It is a Wiedemann something. I just need a model, if you'd be so kind. Let me show you a bit more, see if I can give the game away. Tell you what, there you are. There's 2 bits. We know the make, just need a model, if you would be so kind. We're going to be back in just a moment with, Caterpillar. We're talking about autonomous quarries with the mighty Caterpillar. Back after this. in my latest short story, which is called Echoes of Dust, which I know a few of you have read, I suggested, and I did use quite a bit of editorial license on this, I suggested that the day would come when you turn up for work and people would just say, no, you can go home, machines have taken over. As I say, artistic license, I realise that's not how it's going to work. Autonomy will come as a result of collaboration. And if you don't believe me, don't take my word for it. Here's Caterpillar.
Our plan for implementing autonomy at Bull Run starts this year with a lot of planning and really getting prepared, really trying to do a lot of change management training, trying to get our folks ready for the technology when it comes on site, and then ultimately converting all of our 777G trucks over to the autonomous solution and installing MineStar. And then ultimately we'll have blue lights on and have autonomy running at Bull Run.
For over 100 years, Luck Companies has defined themselves as a people-first organization, leading the aggregates industry in innovation and forward-thinking. Today, they continue to build a legacy rooted in their founders' core values: leadership, integrity, commitment, and creativity.
When I think about our 100 years, it really comes down to one thing. It comes down to our people. This company was founded on the fact that we care about our people, we take care of our people. We want to create an environment where our folks can grow and can achieve their wildest dreams.
Located on the outskirts of Chantilly, Virginia, Luck Stone crushes around 2 million tons a year at its flagship operation, Bull Run Quarry. Bull Run has partnered with Caterpillar to tackle what will be a game-changing innovation for both companies: the first autonomous haul fleet in the aggregates industry.
When we thought about autonomy and we thought about who to partner with, Caterpillar is the industry leader in autonomy, and they've been doing this in large mines for over 10 years. They have more success and knowledge and have learned more in this space than anybody else in the industry. So that, combined with just the deep relationships and the long-standing history that we have with Caterpillar, we really couldn't think of a better partner to work with. And we feel really fortunate that Caterpillar selected Luck Stone to be a part of this project.
Autonomy at Bull Run looks like the 4 777s being converted over to the current MineStar solution. Then we'll work as a partner with CAT to understand what that looks like going forward in the quarry space.
Caterpillar has relocated Tom Smith here from Australia, someone with a tremendous amount of experience in this space that we have learned to trust. So we're already starting to find this dance between one another that's going to get us to the end game.
I was incredibly lucky to be involved in our first commercial site in Australia and seeing how far we've come in the last 10 years. It's sort of like that again for me now. However, it's a completely new industry in a new region. So we're able to take the current value we're providing to large miners to much smaller sites. Bull Run is one of Luck Stone's largest sites, so it made a really good fit to have a site with larger volumes and 4 trucks ready to go. The goal for Luck Stone is to make autonomy successful in the aggregates industry because it makes the entire industry better.
We've been working a lot with the CAT network team, trying to identify what network we'll deploy at Bull Run to support the MineStar infrastructure.
We have just implemented Edge here at Bull Run to really understand not only how the trucks are performing, but what other activities they're doing before we implement the command for hauling solution. We're going to be implementing some of our other building block technologies like terrain for loading and fleet. So what that does is it helps the site here get used to technology, but we're also building confidence in the loader operators in how to interact with that terrain panel, how to pick their files, how to operate the technology before then jumping into command a few months later.
Throughout the extraordinary process of automating their haul fleet, Luck Stone is committed to never losing sight of their most critical asset, their people.
So one of the big things that we're doing with our people is to get them to understand that we're not using this project to minimize our workforce, but to open up opportunities and open up gates for them to grow in the company.
We're able to help upskill their training team through Train the Trainer. We're able to help onboard the dealer to make sure that they've got the right skill sets and the right timeframes involved. We're looking at slightly different roles here. So we're going to be giving them slightly higher duties. So we're identifying those areas now through site assessments and through engagement daily here on site to work out what we need to do to actually make sure we're going to be successful from day one and onwards.
We're really excited about what it's going to do for our folks. First and foremost, safety. As we know, operations in a mine site, we do all that we can do to keep it as safe as we can possibly make it.
It's going to remove the operator from potential hazards as simple as climbing on and off the equipment or lost controls, near misses where you may have something potentially collide. We also definitely see productivity as a huge gain through autonomy. Just having that consistent operator every cycle of the day, not getting tired, not stopping for a break.
We've seen it in our processing plants. It's like having your best operator run the plant every day under autonomy, and we expect the same results with our hauling fleet.
It also is going to help us overcome the labor shortage that we've seen. It's hard to hire good talent. You're able to offer people other opportunities than just driving a haul truck. They can learn to use MineStar, they develop other skills. And I think it's going to make us more attractive to people that maybe wouldn't have looked in the mining industry for employment.
For us to be one of the first quarries in the world to adopt an autonomous hauling system is very, very special for us.
It's exciting that it's not a decade from now. It's right on our doorstep. And we all have to hold hands and go down the path into the future together and trust the people to our left and our right are going to make this work and take care of us.
When I think about our next 100 years, it's hard to say exactly what that's going to look like, but it's going to be an environment where folks are incredibly committed to one another. They want to grow, develop. They want to be the best version of themselves. And we're going to keep pushing the industry and pushing our company to innovate and be different. And I know there'll be challenges, but I think we all have a ton of optimism that with our relationships and how committed we are to the project, that it's going to be a success.
And it's gone. Thank you very much indeed for that. I'm just going to go over to this. Mick says, Mark, not sure what you've done, but the screen and voice and the name's coming up 110% better. We've upgraded, basically, nothing more than that. Because we had some issues earlier in the week, it gave me an opportunity to go into the back end and try and figure out what was going wrong. But one of the reasons for it looking like this, as you can see, it's actually bringing in your photograph there, Mick. One of the reasons for it is, and I don't want to come across as a bit of an arse. I mean, I know I am a bit of an arse, but I don't want to come across that way. But this is your show. As I think anyone that's listened to any episodes of the Recap podcast will know, what you have to say is way, way more important and way more knowledgeable than anything I've got to say. So I want to reflect that. Our friend Footy is here as well. He says, good morning, bro. I'm at home. Had one day at work. Big job next week. Let's do a DBS check to do it. Fingers crossed. Now, going back to Mick as well, he says, okay, not having this anymore, he says angrily. No one has all these machines in their heads. He's talked about the mystery machine. So new ball game for you. How to cheat on the mystery machine, make space on your hand. Now, Peter McKenna then came clean and said, when I can see it, where is it? He says Google Lens. Now, Google Lens basically allows you to show it an image and it will then go and try and find the source image, which is absolutely fine. Mick then says, see, at least Peter is honest. Well, I think so. I think so too. However, Google Lens or otherwise, I can tell you that only one person has got it. He's a complete newcomer to the show, so probably not familiar with the way that things work around here. So let me go back. We've got lots and lots of guesses on Wiedemann products, mainly from Dan Cullen, lots and lots and lots. There's another one. There's one from Peter. There's another one from Dan. Another one from Peter. Another one from Peter. Another from Dan, 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 and so it goes on. But I can tell you that our brand spanking new viewer all the way from New Zealand got the right answer. It is a Wiedemann 3080 LP wheel loader. Russell Maszewski, all the way from... Do we include New Zealand as down under, or is that strictly Australia? I never know. But I can tell you, there you are. He's got the right answer. It is, in fact, the Wiedemann 3080 LP wheel loader. So as it stands today, Dan Cullen is on 9 points this month. I am on 6, and our new member of the family, Russell Maszewski from New Zealand, has 3 points. Congratulations and well done. I know, Dan Cullen, yes, you did say the 3080, but you said it about 3 minutes after Russell did it. He did it right at the beginning of the last film. So definitely was the winner. Well done to the Kiwi, says Mick. There you are. I thought I got a 3080. You may well have done, but again, it was the fastest finger first. You know how the rules work around here. This is not your first time. So yes, it is well done to our new friend who is, well, he's arrived and clinched a victory, which is fantastic. And congratulations, newbie. You are. Well done, that man, a newcomer. Nice one. Like it. Well, Russell, you've come in and you've stolen our hearts, is what you've done. Well done. Congratulations. And yes, you do get a trophy. It's only an imaginary one, but you do get a trophy. Well done. We're going to crack on with the show in just a moment, because I've got one more film to show you, and then I'm going to do my morning monologue and send you all on your way, feeling slightly more bitter and angry about the world, probably.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Just going back to all things Kiwi, there is Russell. Good night, Russell. I can see your post. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. It's that one. I'm hitting the sack. Got training in the morning. You go and get your full 8 hours or however many it's going to be. Jim Turner says, I can see your postage costs going up, Mark. You're damn right. Yeah, we'd actually had a couple of winners from New Zealand in the past. And not only does it cost a fortune, it takes forever. I mean, I think the last one that I sent was, it was a couple of Liebherr cups or something like that. About a month to get there. The postage won't be cheap if he wins this month. I'm rooting for Dan Cullen right about now, actually. That'll make your eyes water. Yes, indeed. Just very quickly on the subject of New Zealand, I am one of the judges on the New Zealand Demolition and Asbestos Awards this year. I'm doing it this weekend, actually. They sent me through all the entries a day or two ago. I've not had a chance to look at them properly yet, but I've downloaded them now, and I'll be working on that over the weekend. So I won't be able to tell you the outcome because I'm one of a number of judges, but towards the end of the year, we'll be hearing who's won that. And certainly based on last year, the quality of the entries was absolutely top-notch. Now, going back to the show itself, we've obviously shown you smart construction, glimpse of the future for construction. We've shown you the collaboration and autonomy in quarries, another glimpse of the future. Let's stick with something not of the past, but very much of the present. Backhoe loaders. And who better to do it with than JCB?
I'm Phil Cowan. We run a groundworks company. We've been established since 1981. We've always been with JCB. So there's quite a number of benefits with the 3CX. The main one being that it can dart around a site like this, which is quite a big site, which means there's a lot of roads. So obviously with it being a wheeled machine, it means we can go from the site compound, which is actually a mile away, to the furthest plots on the site. One of the key components with the 3CX is that you've got your two stabilising legs at the back. This allows you to quickly and easily level the machine up and get it to where you need it to be. When we get to sort of the latter end of what we do here at Darlington, we call it back-end work. Back-end work involves sort of flagging, paving, drives, topsoil in the gardens. 3CX is used in a lot of that work. The ability to sort of pitch the machine where you need it, the angle you need it on, quickly and easily, just sort of makes life so much easier. It's always easier to level up a 3CX than a 360. So to go into some of these areas, the 3CX is a better machine than the 360. A lot of the work we do involves service connections. This is where basically the plot connects into where the services are, which tends to be in the footpath. To carry this sort of work out with the 360 is rather tricky because you're on sort of a heap of different angles. Footpaths are higher than roads, so this is where the 3CX really comes into play. We see quite a lot of cost savings from having and operating a 3CX. We don't have to hire in a road sweeper. We use the 3CX and a brush on the front of it. Huge savings on that respect. We don't have to hire in the likes of our own forklift, so if we're doing a block paved drive, there's a lot of to-in and fro-in with the forks to try and supply the blocks to the job. Just hop into the 3CX, deliver your bits and pieces to where you're working, and then crack on with another task.
As Chris Ford says, don't miss driving a Go4. Yeah, indeed, don't miss driving a Go4. Dan Cullen says, have a great day, guys. Have a great hump day. But he also says, what about meeting up with Mick, Mark? When are you up for it? Week after next. Next week is hell on earth. After that, let's see if we can get a date in the diary. Footy says you can do a lot of things with a Duck as well as a 3CX. Both good machines, but both horses for courses. Yep, totally agree. Jim Turner says, apparently our planning to have a house on the land has just come through. So we'll officially have a proper but very, very small farm. Couldn't afford to buy one, so I'm building one instead. Might have to do it as a YouTube series. Never mind the might, Jim. You must do it as a YouTube series. Get yourself monetized, get yourself to your 1,000 subscribers, get yourself monetized, and you'll be making a few quid along the way. And all you need is a GoPro to just film the whole thing coming together. Simple as that. Looking forward to it. Music pumping and marking my ears. I can only apologise for that. That pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, please do stay safe, would you? Please. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll be back with my morning monologue immediately after this. On the 6th of August 1945, a Boeing B-29 Super Fortress bomber known as Enola Gay dropped an atomic bomb on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. One sudden blinding flash, 70,000 lives extinguished instantly. That's the way the history books record it. But what they sometimes overlook is the quiet devastation that followed. How the real destruction took on new forms in the months and years that came after. Cancer, sickness, relentless fallout that poisoned bodies and lives with unseen damage. Some people survived the bomb only to die years later from its after effects. In fact, it's estimated that more than 3 times the number of people killed in the immediate blast died as a result of the after effects. Yet their passing was largely as invisible as the radiation itself. In demolition and construction, the parallels to this are chilling. When major companies collapse, it's tempting to think that the worst part is that one moment when the news reports a bankruptcy, when the layoffs start. But those who work in this industry know better. It's not the initial blast that ruins lives. It's the fallout that seeps into everything that follows. And that's the part that no one prepares for. Take Carillion or ISG, giants we all thought were untouchable and unsinkable. The day they folded, we all saw the shockwave. Contracts shredded, employees left jobless, promises broken as sites were shuttered overnight. It was like standing at ground zero of a bomb site. But what came next, the fallout, that's what haunts everyone involved. Carillion, with its extensive reach across the UK, didn't just let down thousands of employees and contractors. The ripple effects spread to subcontractors, smaller firms that relied on Carillion's deals to stay afloat. They became collateral damage, caught in the aftermath with little hope of recouping what they'd lost. And ISG went precisely the same way. What does that kind of fallout do to the people left behind? You can measure it in unpaid wages, unfulfilled projects, and unfinished dreams. But what about the damage that's harder to see, the real fallout? What about the countless suppliers and subcontractors that are driven to and often beyond the point of extinction by an overexposure to failed companies? What about the knock-on effect that trickles through the industry supply chain? What about the workers cast adrift who had no backup plan? skilled labourers, builders and demolition experts who suddenly found themselves scrambling to make ends meet, unable to find work that matched the level they'd achieved with Carillion or ISG. Some moved on to lower paying jobs or patched together contracts wherever they could. Others left the industry entirely, taking their expertise and decades of experience with them. And it's not just about the people on the payroll who get hit. It's their families, their communities. A company like Carillion goes under, and it's not just the employees who feel it. It's their spouses, their children, even the local businesses they once supported. The fallout from these corporate collapses infects entire towns and communities. And this is the silent destruction, the unseen force that mirrors the radiation fallout from Hiroshima. Just as the survivors in Hiroshima suffered from illnesses that weakened them, the companies and people affected by these industry collapses endure something similar. The fallout damages their health. It's like the contamination that lingered over Hiroshima, but here it's a slow decay in morale and trust. Companies that once cared about investing in talent, developing strong worker management relationships, and maintaining high standards of safety and integrity, they start to pull back. They cut costs wherever they can, subcontracting out to the lowest bidder, compromising quality to make up for lost profits. Where Carillion and ISG once stood as pillars of the industry, their downfall leaves a void behind, a warning, an ever-present reminder of how quickly it can all come crashing down. And so instead of building a better industry, we're stuck in a cycle of distrust and short-sighted decisions. The clients, investors, even the workers themselves become guarded, defensive, weary of committing too much. What we're left with is a shell of an industry where true craftsmanship is overshadowed by the fear of yet another collapse. But that fallout isn't inevitable, is it? We do have a choice. The world came together to learn from the devastation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki to work towards peace, to prevent that level of destruction from ever happening again. Surely our industry could take a long, hard look at itself and commit to a different path. We could make the changes needed to prevent another Carillion or another ISG. But it requires more than just policy. It requires a culture shift. It demands that we treat workers as the backbone of this field, not as some expendable resource. It's not enough just to see the immediate destruction. We need to start recognizing what we're really dealing with. And it's an ongoing crisis, a slow bleeding of people and potential, one that we can't afford to keep ignoring. If we don't, this cycle of blast and fallout, collapse and suffering is just going to keep repeating itself. Companies will continue to collapse, and the workers who've built their lives in the industry will keep paying the price. If we want to break free of this cycle, we have to learn from the fallout. We need industry leaders who will listen to the voices of the people who actually build, who understand the risks and sacrifices of this industry. We need companies willing to commit to long-term visions, to invest in their workers as partners rather than liabilities. Only then can we hope to rebuild trust, to replace decay with growth, to turn the legacy of destruction into a foundation of resilience, to choose resilience over collapse, stability over fallout. The only question that remains is whether we're brave enough to make that choice. That was supposed to be a follow-on from Monday's morning monologue. It should have happened on Tuesday. I wasn't here on Tuesday. So there you are. Let's have a look. What do we got here? Mick Norton has just joined us. Good morning, Mick. Jim Turner says he is 802 subscribers short right now. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. Keep the shorts going. And again, I mean, if bearing in mind you can do shorts of up to 3 minutes now, Jim, if I were you, once, twice, 3 times a day, I would be setting the camera rolling, capture yourself 3 minutes of whatever it is that you're doing on a particular day, upload it unedited as a short, keep it to 2 minutes 59 perhaps. And I reckon come the new year, you'll be at 1,000 subscribers and you will be monetized. It really is as straightforward as that. It's a simple set of maths, not a problem at all. Dan Cullen says, well done, Jim. Well done in advance. When you do hit the 1,000 subscribers, Jim, let me know. I think we'll have a small party. Mick Norton says, Enola Gay was a terrible incident in World War II, but it brought the Japanese to the negotiating table. In 1957, the British government exposed thousands of servicemen to the fallout from the H-bomb tests on Christmas Island and in Maralinga, in South Australia. These servicemen on Operation Grapple have never been acknowledged by successive governments. Indeed. Totally agree, but the top Johnnies have moved on to other jobs. Me personally, I wouldn't touch them with a pole, but when companies go down, it starts from the top. Yes, it does. It does. And I'll go back to the point that I made earlier in the week, back on Monday, using the football analogy. You know, if you are a failed football manager, you seem to land an even more lucrative job within days, sometimes within hours of having been fired. We have exactly the same system here in construction. You know, there will be demolition construction companies that fall victim to shifts in the economy or COVID, you know, circumstances beyond the control of the directors that are controlling those companies. And I fully accept that. But when your CV shows that you have been in charge of 1, 2, 5 failed companies, should you really be running another one? Why are people being given the opportunity to run another one? Is that not just asking for trouble? You think about somebody that's applying for a job at the bottom end. You think about, you know, you guys. I mean, we've already had our friend in New Zealand. He's doing training tomorrow, which will probably be tonight for us, but yeah, you get the idea. But he's doing training. So you have to jump through all these hoops. You have to have a little bit of plastic. You have to do your asbestos awareness. You have to jump through all these hoops. And yet somebody that has got a track record that proves that they have collapsed multiple companies seems to walk into another job like that, quick as anything. And that cycle just repeats. And they may be completely legit directors and managers. They may well be. They may be the nicest people on God's green earth, but they have proven not once, not twice, but 3, 4, 5 times that they do not possess the ability to run a stable company. So why are we giving them a chance to do so again? And again, I realise that we operate in a very cyclical business. You know, construction goes up, construction goes down, construction goes up, construction goes down, and same as it ever was. I realise that. But here's another point, and I will come to you in just a moment. Well, I'll do it now. There you are. Some companies, some people rather, are professional at closing companies. Yeah, in much the same way. And I realise not all of you are football fans, but you know, you look at a manager like Sam Allardyce. If you're mid-season and your football club is rock bottom of the Premier League, phone Sam Allardyce, because he's got a proven track record. His teams play horrible, horrible football. Trust me, as a West Ham fan, I know they play horrible, horrible football, but he will save you because that's what he does. But we've also got, as Chris Ford has said there, you've got exactly the same, but in reverse. You've got people that are almost guaranteed to drive your business into the ground. Now, going back to that and going back to the cyclical nature of the business, admittedly, I've been watching this business now for about 36 years. So, you know, I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs, I've seen the highs, I've seen the lows, but we all know they exist. So when times get hard, and let's take plant hire as an example, when times get hard for a plant hire company, the first thing they do is to start slashing their rates. So their local competitor slashes their rates, so they're forced to slash their rates even further, and there's a race to the bottom. As sure as eggs is eggs, that is the plant hire response to any form of economic downturn. Race to the bottom. When times improve, they bump the rates back up a bit, but then they go and splurge huge millions on huge fleets, all on finance. You'll find that they've just got themselves a brand new Range Rover, all mod cons. We know that upturn is likely to last at best 5 years, sometimes as many as 10, but as sure as eggs is eggs, and I don't know what that means, but as sure as eggs is eggs, if it goes up, it'll go down. If it goes up, it'll go down. we seem to lack the ability to find that middle ground. You know, to keep plant hire rates at a sensible, sustainable level. To treat an upturn as, well, it's good, but what we should be doing right now is investing in systems and solutions so that when the next downturn comes, which it will, when it comes, we are prepared for it. What was the expression? Fixing the roof while the sun's shining? We don't. You know, as an industry, in construction, in demolition, in plant hire, the inclination is, yeah, that roof is leaking a bit. Oh, fuck me, it's a deluge. That's the way we work. And I don't understand it. And when you go, which is why I use the analogy, and I'm sure there will be somebody politically correct who will take me to task for having compared construction to the death of 70,000 people in Hiroshima. I was just trying to make a point, but whatever. It's not the initial blast. You know, in all likelihood, those that have been hit, or, you know, the employees that have been hit at ISG will find themselves alternative work. A lot of them will find alternative work in construction. Some will find alternative work elsewhere. But it's the wider implications. It's the wider implications. And one of the things that occurred to me was, if you are, let's say you're a business close to the ISG head office. I don't know where they're located. Let me take a wild stab at somewhere in London. And I've seen this. I saw this actually when West Ham changed its ground. If you have got an office in a part of London, let's take ISG as the example. It's not just employing those people. So, you know, some of those people will pop out and they'll buy themselves a sandwich at lunchtime. Maybe they'll buy a newspaper on the way into work. Maybe they'll buy a coffee on the way into work. Maybe when they need their car servicing, rather than taking it to somewhere close to their home, which they're never at because they're at work, they use the garage close by. Maybe after they finish work for the day, they pop into the local pub, have a pint with their mates. Maybe they go to the gym, pump iron with their mates. I don't know what modern people do, but you get the idea. So all of that money that is being paid by ISG in that particular area is now going to kind of cross-pollinate the local area. So the local newsagent, the local Starbucks, the local gym, the local pub will all benefit from the presence of ISG. ISG collapses and all of them get a kick in the knackers as a result. Every single one of them. And going back to the West Ham thing, when West Ham moved, and they only moved about 2 miles up the road, you know, there were businesses that just basically shut up shop. You know, the local burger van and things like that. They just collapsed and they died and they went away never to return. That's the wider impact. Hiroshima affected people worldwide, birth defects and stuff. Yes, it most certainly did. Dan Cullen says, always said, takes the older generation to build a company and the younger ones to bury it. The number of times I've seen that over the years. I remember being told, and it was one of those things that you look at and you go, it can't be true. But I was told many, many moons ago that a generation builds a company, the next generation builds upon that company, and the third generation sinks the company. And you know, going back to, for example, for Demolition, you've got somebody who builds themselves up from the bootstraps. You know, they were a digger driver or a lorry driver who thought, I could do that demolition thing. And, you know, through hard graft, dedication, passion, and just sheer grit and determination, they built a demolition company. As a result of building that demolition company, their offspring often come into the business. Because they've got a few quid now, they've kind of paid to educate their offspring, and their offspring come in and take a company that was that big and make it that big, because they're not just up by their bootstraps. They are working class people, but with the benefit of education and you know, access to information and stuff. So they take it from that to that. Third generation comes along and the wealth has hit. And rather than being passionate and hardworking, they're entitled. So the first generation builds, the second generation expands, the third generation kills. Somebody said that to me probably 30 years ago, and I have seen it played out time and time and time again. And it's almost without fail. Let's have a look. Some of these guys couldn't run a brothel. Some people not fit for owning a business. No, I agree. I totally agree. Likewise, sack managers in the NHS often move on to another trust. Nobody says a thing. How does this? We talk on this show about things like drugs and alcohol abuse on site. If you were caught off your face on one or t'other of those substances, you'd like to think that somebody would have the good sense to record that, so that next time you apply for a job, somebody says, well, he's got his bit of plastic, but he's also got the construction equivalent of a DUI, driving under the influence. So, you might want to tread carefully with him. Should that not work at management and director level? Yes, he has got all these letters after his name. Yes, he is a member of all of these trade associations. Yes, he was the keynote speaker at such and such event, but he's failed 3 companies in 4 years. Maybe you need to take a closer look. Maybe. Mick Norton says, I don't know about Sam Allardyce, but even Billy Graham couldn't save my Southampton. Yes, Southampton are not having a good time at the moment, and there, but for the grace of God. I mean, as a West Ham fan, I'm quite grateful for the existence of Southampton and other companies of that ilk, because so long as there's three clubs worse than my club, that's okay. I've always had a lot of time for weights. Why the hell have they let the bloke on? I have no idea. This is one to watch. Yeah, there was a guy, ex-LSG, has jumped over to weights. And you're right. Weights is in many ways kind of like the John Lewis of the construction industry. Very family driven, very good to their employees. And I mean, I've done some work for they had a plant hire company called Vine Plant back in the day, and I did some work for Vine Plant. Saw weights up close. Huge admiration for them. As always said, no, we've done that one. No one is really bothered if it doesn't affect their personal wealth. Yeah, and that does seem to be the case. And I'm going to stop with the Hiroshima analogy here, but that seems to be the case. When you think about Carillion, and Carillion is 5-6 years ago, and we've now seen the fallout. It was a couple of thousand people who were left unemployed, most of which will have found alternative employment and stuff. But that impact on the supply chain is still echoing to this very day. There are companies, be it plant hire, specialist contractors, who took a major hit back then, who are still desperately trying to recover from the 100,000, 200,000, 3 million quid hole in their profit and loss account, even to this day. And that impacts, as I said in that spiel earlier, there will be people now who will be less inclined to employ a lot of people, less inclined to train a lot of people, because there is always that fear hanging over them. What if I spend all this money and it all goes tits up? And I think, to my mind, I think you also get exactly the same effect with the employees themselves. How much? I was talking to a guy yesterday, one of my friends from the States. I was talking to my friend yesterday. And we were talking about this notion that nobody has. I mean, my son works with me. He doesn't work for me, but he works with me. And he is very committed. He's very good at what he does. He's very committed. But even my son, who has grown up around what I do, is not quite as committed as me. Not quite. Not quite as passionate, not quite as committed. And he is my son. If you then take that to a nephew, they'll be even less committed. If you take that to somebody that's not a member of the family at all, they will be less committed. And you get the sense that a lot of people in construction now and in demolition, they're holding a bit back. Why should I bend over backwards when I know full well that the company employing me will drop me like a hot brick if anything goes tits up? It won't be my fault. I'm putting in the hours, I'm working hard, I'm getting the job done properly. But if something goes wrong, be it economically, be it a pandemic, or something else goes wrong, I will take the hit. So why the fuck should I work all the hours that God sends? Why should I bend over backwards when I know full well that if things, if push comes to shove, I'll be out the door and the directors will bugger off with all the money. That's the truth. Mick says, got to say this, Mark. Brady and the bunch down at Upton Park have done a great deal. We should know as Londoners, we helped pay for it. But the impact to the area was devastating. Even the so-called massive in my area will not go to Stratford. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I had an issue with the move of West Ham for purely sentimental reasons. You know, I've been going to Upton Park since I was about 4 years old, so that was a big loss. But when you think about, you know, there was genuinely a community, and I realise it came and went. You know, Saturdays were always very busy around Green Street and the, you know, the surrounding area. But there were burger vans, there was the guys selling the programs and the fanzines and the scarves and even the local shops. You know, there was a couple of local pubs, the local pie and mash shop just around the corner, the local cafe. All of those benefited enormously from the presence of West Ham Football Club. You move 2 miles up the road and all of those have done. You know, that's another lost pie and mash shop. Hang on a minute. Always remember that a business doesn't owe you a living. 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. They don't owe you a living. They don't. And that's one of the things that I've found hardest to impart to my children, the fact that you are just a number ultimately. But imagine how much more you would get out of your employees if you weren't just a number. You know, and I'm not suggesting that anybody does the full John Lewis thing. I know we've got some demolition companies are now in employee ownership. But when you look at what John Lewis does, you know, if John Lewis has a good year, all of the employees from the top to bottom benefit from it. Would you not get more out of your employees if they were part of the deal, if they were getting part of the action? I think you probably would. Mick Dalton, where's Streeting? Picked this up on the news this morning. Hopefully he will do as he says. Not sure what that relates to. I'll need to check that. Dan Cullen says, unfortunately, that's not possible as the law is you can't be part of a person getting work and giving bad references. You can be held accountable. So I believe you can bad name a company, but not a worker. Not ethical, I feel. Yeah, it's makes you wonder what the point of CVs and stuff is, doesn't it? I mean, I've not had a CV in 34 years. So, you know, mine is largely meaningless these days anyway. I know when I first did one, I lied. You know, I overstated my qualifications and stuff. But then after that, every job I've ever had has been sort of word of mouth or reputation or whatever it might be. So I've never really had to suffer from that. But you would have thought, you know, particularly things like Carillion and ISG, if you're working in construction and you're interviewing somebody and you're looking at their resume and it says, you know, former employer, ISG or Carillion, surely there's a point, particularly if you're on, if they're at director level, you'd be going, tell me more. How involved were you in the demise of those companies? When a plant operator fails his drugs or alcohol test, invariably more down the road. Hang on a minute. Invariably move down the road to another site, generally without any checks. Yeah. So we've had a problem child on this site. We don't want him, but we don't care who else gets him, so long as he doesn't turn up pissed or high on our site. That's looking at the bigger picture, isn't it? It will probably be for Tuesday now. I've got an idea in mind. So if you've been watching the WhatsApp group today, you'll know that somebody has posted details of a story that relates to a company that basically had a fatality on one of their sites and liquidated the company before the whole thing came to court. They're not the first to have done that. They won't be the last to do that. There seems to be now an unofficial playbook of what to do in the aftermath of a site fatality. And that is to fold the company or transfer the assets to another company. So when the shit does hit the fan, that company is now basically potless and there's no money to be paid. That seems to be the playbook. So we kick it down the road, exactly the same as Mick has described there. Kick it down the road. Life is always on the change, says Chris Ford. Some people call it progress, some people call it a step backwards. Nothing remains the same. Many a true word. Mick says, Dan, Mark, just looked at my social diary, blank as usual. If you two want to meet up in a fortnight, let me know. I will check my diary, and I mean, my social calendar is been empty for about 10 years, but work diary is a little bit different to that. I'll come back to you. Peter says, hello, I'm back. Fetch my lad to hospital for physio and also having arguments on EV sustainability on a channel on YouTube. That is what YouTube is designed for. Peter McKenna says, Dan, it's commonly assumed that a previous employer must give a reference and is legally prohibited from giving a bad one. This is not the case. Your employer can give you a bad or unfavourable reference, but only if they genuinely believe it to be true and accurate and have reasonable grounds for that belief. There was a time, Mick, back me up on this, there was a time when that you didn't even bother with references, official references and CVs. You got somebody applied for a job. Where did you work before? Oh, I worked for Joe Blogg's Demolition. On the blower to Joe Blogg's Demolition. Hello, Joe. I've got this guy who wants a job. Oh, is he? Okay, I'll pass. That was how it was done. That would have been but surely a better system rather than bits of paper. I wonder who checked the Archbishop of Canterbury's CV. Well, on the basis that he had to tell the king before he stepped down, maybe. And Mick says, Jimmy Savile comes to mind. Jimmy Savile comes to mind far too often. There you are. No, mate, it was all done by word of mouth. Yeah. Yeah, and listen, we had Ryan Lee on the show earlier. I don't know if he's still here, but we had Ryan on. Ryan has got a fantastic CV. He's worked for some fantastic companies, done some fantastic work on some fantastic projects. People in the industry will know that. There's no point in anybody in human resources. Ryan Lee, yes, could you tell me about your qualification? Show me a little bit of plastic. One phone call. Yeah, he did he? Perfect. He says, like, just the bloke we're looking for. That's the way the industry used to work. Does it not work like that anymore? I was hoping the Halloween story was going to be in Braille. Then I could feel the bad bits. Yeah, could have done that, couldn't I? Peter says, still mainly done by word of mouth. I very rarely get asked for references. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Because I don't believe in this industry, and probably a lot of other industries, I don't think you can employ somebody based on a LinkedIn profile or a CV. You kind of need reality, don't you? And I honestly think you get that reality much easier. Just pick up the phone, speak to their former employee or employer or the one before that. What are they like? Brilliant. They sound like just the guy I'm looking for, or just the girl I'm looking for, or, oh, really? Yeah, I'm going to give them a wide berth. Would that not be easier than bits of paper? Nothing worked better than in the days when the Irish gang are hired and fired. Yeah. Because even if you manage to get past the initial bit, you've called him on a soft day and you've convinced him that you can do the job. You turn up and start, and within 10 minutes, he'll be able to tell whether you were lying or not. At which point, if you were lying, you're going back out the door again. Better system. One of my mates is the owner of a transport company. He gets emails all the time with CVs. He deletes them and says, if they can't be bothered to ring me, they aren't worth applying. Yeah, there you are. Dan Cullen says, I've never been asked for a reference yet. Word of mouth is my motto. Yeah. And I realise a lot of you are employees and you're seeing it from one side. But look at that from another side. If the word of mouth is positive, that person is clearly of value. And so I think, if I were to impart any sort of knowledge to any of my children, they're all a bit too late now, but if I'm, make yourself valuable, make yourself known, but make yourself valuable, gain a reputation for being the go-to guy or girl for any particular job. Because if and when you decide to leave that company, that will go with you. It may even go ahead of you. You might, as a result of that. I mean, the last 2 jobs I had within proper journalism, I didn't apply for. They came looking for me. A long while ago, but they came looking for me. And I turned down 2 before that, 3 before that, come to think of it, and they came looking for me as well. So Yeah. True words, Mick, but Paddy not on the ground no more. He had sense and got out of the game. Ain't that the truth? Jim Turner had a CV folder thing when I left school. Never used it. I just phoned up, been phoned up by somebody, had the crack and either took the job or turned it down. Yeah. Does word of mouth apply to our foreign friends that don't understand a word of English? Hard. It's hard. And it's doubly troubling. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but doubly troubling in the fact that just because they can't speak a language doesn't mean that they're not. I mean, they might be absolutely supreme operators, supervisors, whatever it might be. Mick Norton, summing up the modern world, as he so often does. Dear sir, I have a CSCS card. Gives a job. And would you look at a CSCS card and think, it's good enough for me? If it's good enough for CSCS, then it's good enough for me. Would you? I wouldn't. Chris Ford says, hire and fire still works. The 10-minute test is still good enough for me. Often just talking to someone will give me a good idea what I'm dealing with. Yeah, you could. I get to see... I've always said this. I'm kind of treated like the Queen. I don't get everywhere and find that it smells of paint, but when I visit a demolition site, it's usually running pretty well. But there's kind of a side effect. Some people, because they know they're being filmed or because they know I'm there and I'm going to be reporting on it, they try to push their machine a little bit too hard, and it's kind of tiptoeing and it's rocking a bit, and you can see it. I'm not an expert. I'm definitely not an operator, but I can see it. The ones that impress me the most are those methodical, everything is just so. They're taking their time, but they're doing the job properly. They're looking after themselves. They're looking after the machine. They're looking after the attachment. They're looking after the building, the people working around them, and the people outside in the street. They're just taking their time. And if anybody ever wants to make a good impression on me as an operator, do that. Just be methodical. Don't try and bring a building down with a single swipe, because I won't be impressed. Peter McKenna says, can be dangerous in science when they can't understand. Stop, mate, that's dangerous. Yeah, it is a challenge. It is a challenge. What you going to do? Bearing in mind the current situation with our skill shortage and everything else, if we can't find enough young, white, English-speaking male, because that apparently is what we want. If we can't find enough of those to fill the gaps, then we do need to spread the net a little bit further. Be that women, God forbid. Be that overseas labour, God forbid. That's just the nature of the beast, and we need to kind of bend with that. And maybe, I do find myself looking at these things a lot. We as an industry, but also as a society, are facing some absolutely enormous challenges. Think about the climate crisis now, but regardless of your take on the climate crisis, let's assume it is every bit as bad as the scientists are saying. If that means that I have to switch from plastic bags at the supermarket to paper bags, that's not a big deal. If I've got to switch from a petrol car to a hybrid car, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a big deal. Even if I've got to switch to ultimately an electric car, that's not a big deal. And I think exactly the same with construction. If we've got an industry-wide skill shortage, which means that we're not building enough homes for the people that live here. It means that our roads are in a terrible state of repair. It takes forever to build a railway line. If our fix to that is that we have to find a new way of communicating with and training overseas workers, that's not a big deal. Make your training instructions pictorial. To go back there, stop, mate, that's dangerous. How hard would it be to put a remote control red light in the cab of a machine? And if you're the site supervisor and somebody's doing something dangerous, press the button on it comes. Overcome. It's not a big deal. It's overcomable if we have the will. God asked once if I had a criminal record and write it down in the box at the bottom. I asked for 10 sheets of A4. Needless to say, I walked out the door. Yes, the less said about those sort of things, the better. Trust me. Chris, I'm absolutely shy. Don't do digging trenches, but I can load a truck in under 4 minutes with a 13-ton machine, says Peter McKenna. Peter also says, Mick, naughty boy. Kind of goes with the territory. Didn't know the Queen smelt of paint. Some people are that far up their own exhaust pipe, they can't smell the bovine scatter. Well said, the bovine scatter. Never heard that before. I was talking to a couple of plant trainers over the weekend, and both agreed that CARB means nothing about someone's ability. They agreed that company assessments would be a better way. So when the bullshitters claim they can operate something, they'll be exposed on day one and a new firm and shown the gate. Yeah. And how much better would it be if we were doing that? You know, you're starting on a Monday. Work starts at 8. We like you here at 7. They turn up at 7. Here's the keys to the machine. Show us what you got. Oh, no, sir. No. On your bike. The bus stops down the road. Why not? Polish and Romanian workers work 50 times harder than most Brits in farming and or construction. And therein lies the issue. As I say, I was talking to an American friend of mine yesterday, and obviously, in some ways, you know, regardless of my personal feelings on President Trump and his planned policies and stuff like that, in some ways they are kind of following on behind us. If you think about, you know, the Tory party's almost relentless focus on stopping migrants crossing the channel and the small boats and everything else, and I realise it didn't work out particularly well for them come the election, but they were so fixated on that. And we were so fixated on appeasing the Nigel Farage part of the electorate that we voted for, or we gave the opportunity to vote for Brexit. And when Brexit happened, we lost a lot of our workers because people didn't want to be in a country where they weren't welcome anymore. Regardless of whether Donald Trump actually starts to round up migrants and send them back whence they came, if you get Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Colombians feeling unwelcome in America, construction, demolition will stop. You think about somewhere like Las Vegas. You know, Las Vegas, it's all glitz and glamour, but 95, 98, 99% of the people that make your beds, that fetch your food, that cook your food, the Mexican. You make those Mexicans feel unwelcome, or you start to get rid of some of them, Las Vegas shuts up shop overnight, because you will not find English-speaking, American-born people that will be willing to do the work that the Mexicans are doing for the same wages. I think I better stay away from the gate. Let's have a look. On homes, I feel landlords should be limited to houses they own, as I know a few that have 50-plus houses. Yeah, it was the gold rush, wasn't it? Absolutely spot on, Chris. Day one assessment. If they try to fill you with shit, send them up the road. Yeah. The days when us bad boys or crooks was the mainstay of the demo industry are gone. Mind you, they all sit in offices now, or they own the firm. Yes. It's a bit like Costa del Crime, isn't it? Yeah, we don't have the Craic twins up and down the Mile End Road in London. They're sunning themselves over in Spain, aren't they? That seems to be the way it works. Think I need a bigger keypad or a smaller fingers. I don't mention predictive text. Yeah, listen, it gets me every time. I'm sure there will come a time in the future when evolution will recognize our challenges and we will all evolve with narrower fingertips. Maybe. What if Trump imposes tariffs on the EU and leaves the UK untouched? Brexit will undoubtedly have worked. Can you see that happening? Particularly given all that our incumbent government has had to say about Mr. Trump in the run-up to the election. Can't see him letting us off the hook entirely, can you? He doesn't strike me as the sort of person that forgives and forgets. Did you get that impression? Maybe. And Dan Callan says, take care, guys. See you on the morrow. I'm eating concrete like a cow on silage. Some people have all the luck, don't they? Right, that is an hour and a half, as good as. Go forth, go do your thing. The recap will probably be up in about an hour's time. I will send you all a message on the WhatsApp group to remind you that it's there. But it's proving remarkably popular. It's getting lots and lots of listens. And there's Peter saying, goodbye, buddy. Why not a limit on machines or workers a firm can have? It's just the same, Dan. House and investment, just like a new machine. Yeah, that's a fair comment. Peter McKenna says, have a good one. Bye, Anne. Anne? Is there one? Oh, yes, Anne Diamond. My apologies. Yes, I've completely forgot. Think Lammy on for a whammy. Yes, I think you could be right. The recap is fantastic. Thanks, Dan. Well, I say thanks, Dan. I don't know what thank you for, because I do fuck all towards it. I basically show AI what you've all been saying, and it spits out gold. Brilliant. Mick says, stay safe, fellas. You too, my friend. Go forth, come and see you tomorrow. Good stuff. Never limit success. It's a race to the bottom. Yes, it is. It is indeed. Right, people, go and have a fine and splendid day, would you? I am back tomorrow for the last show of the week because, as I say, no show Friday, no show Monday. Long weekend for me, which is nice. Probably nicer for you because you get a bit of a break from this. Until tomorrow, have a fine and splendid day. I will see. Let's have a look. The recap should have its own YouTube channel. In actual fact, just to let you know, I have been uploading the recap to YouTube, but I've been doing it unlisted. Purely because, I think the conversations that take place here are between us. And I realise they're public, but I think they're between us. So, so when we do the recap, I'm keeping it among friends and among, members and that kind of thing. But I'm uploading it to YouTube because YouTube, being part of Google, which it is, it's a fantastic way to search. So if in 6 months' time we decide to loop back and look at what we've said about the demise of Carillion or ISG, I'll be able to find it dead easily over on YouTube. So if ever you want to watch a recap, just ask and I will free it up and I'll let you go and have a look. But it's quite funny, says Peter McKenna. It's what I find interesting is, bearing in mind, I probably stopped doing the show proper at about the 40-minute mark. So we're now at another 40 minutes, and it condenses 40 minutes down into 8, 10, 12 minutes. But it always seems to pick out the really good bits. As I say, nothing to do with me. I just feed it in and see what comes out the other end. But yeah, goes to show there is gold in these here conversations, if only people realise. What about the thing you mentioned at Christmas last year about what's new or... Are you talking about predictions? Yes, we are getting to the point where we need to recap the predictions from last year and plan some new ones for next year. I haven't looked at the predictions from last year once since we actually aired them. So I do need to go and do that. I bet I've got them all wrong. And yes, the predictions. Dan, I will go and dig out that show. I'll choose a date, probably around about the middle of December, I would say, because things would have slowed down a bit by then. I'll probably do it in the evening, maybe do it during the day. And yeah, we'll recap and see if we can come up with some more accurate predictions for next year. We shall see. And also, don't forget, Sight for Sore Eyes, the book is coming next week or so. And also, I'll be uploading the audio for my Christmas story. Free download. So if you've got sons, daughters, somewhere between 6 and 10 years old, I suppose, if you've got sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, whatever it might be, that might appreciate a Christmas story with an excavator theme, let me know. And Mick says, come on, the pub's open. Mick, I'm going. Go have a pint. Have one for me, would you? Because I don't. Go and have one for me, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Till then, have a good one.